You don't get lucky. The harder you work, the luckier you get. You have to put the hours in. The best advice I had was you should build on your strengths rather than just trying to cope with your weaknesses. If you've got a weakness, obviously you want to improve that because it'll help you be better. But the real focus was focus on your strengths and make those your USP.
Hi, so today I'm with Geoff Ellis, who's the Chief Exec of DF Concerts, which is Scotland's biggest promoter, probably one of the biggest in the UK, part of the Live Nation family.
Yeah, one of the biggest in Europe actually, but they're in the top 20 in Europe.
So Geoff's going to tell us about the journey of his idea and how he got involved in this business. But maybe could you start at the beginning? Like, where were you before you joined DF?
My career started at Middlesex Poly. I was the entertainments manager there. I was writing reviews for gigs and wanted to be a student journalist, and doing that, and then got involved on the entertainments committee. And then the guy who was the entertainments manager moved on and recommended I take over the job. And I became the entertainments manager. The first band I booked was a certain ratio. Went on to book the Stone Roses for their kind of seminal London gig that they then exploded after that. So did that for 4 years or so, 4 or 5 years. And I started working at the Marquee Club in London and booking that. And I started promoting club nights and had the biggest Friday night in London for a while. Mainly, dance music, kind of, indie dance mixed with some kind of deep house.
And just for context, like when was that? And what's the biggest night? How many people were we talking?
Well, that was the 1990, 1991, really, that kind of time. The biggest, we used to do 800 people on a Friday night, which was the biggest club night back then. Then I saw an advert to come up and run the place we're in today, King Tut's Wawa Hut, and Stuart Clumpus, who founded, DF Concerts, he wanted somebody to come up and book this place and run it.
So this is quite a famous venue, particularly in Scotland and in the UK, but we have a global audience. Could you maybe just very quickly tell us why King Tut's is famous?
Well, King Tut's, it's a small venue. When I came up for my interview here, I was surprised how small it was. It had such a reputation already that it built up in 2 years as being the real, grassroots venue for breaking bands, and it had people like, Blur, Mannix, Charlatans, all those kind of bands playing here. Since then we've had The Killers, Coldplay, Radiohead. Obviously, famously, Oasis was signed here when they turned up unannounced and played. But almost every British band who's made it big has come through King Tut's. It's got legendary status, and I think it's not just a bricks and mortar. It's a staff. It's the way fans are treated, the way bands are treated.
And there was behind King Tut's, there's this company called DF Concerts. Could you quickly tell us, like, what is that, and how did you get involved in that from here?
Well, DF Concerts is a concert promoter, and we do festivals now. So, DF Concerts opened King Tut's so that it had a pipeline venue. It had somewhere that it could bring through grassroots artists. And that was a key strategic decision that's still really valuable today. So many of the bands that we promote because we put them on in King Tut's, and we got in early in their career, and you get the payback. So when Coldplay, Jerry Cinnamon, when they're both doing 2 nights at Hand, and Killers doing 2 nights at Falkirk, this summer Paolo Nutini doing, and Sam Fender doing Transmit, they've all been through King Tut's. DF Concerts we promote all over Scotland, from venues that are even smaller than King Tut's up to stadiums and festivals. Obviously we had the Tina Park Festival for 23 years as well. So as a business, we're concert promoters. The venue side of things is it doesn't make a loss, but it doesn't make loads of money or anything. No venue does at this kind of size, but it serves a real purpose to bring bands in, help nurture talent. It means that we can take a risk in here easier than somewhere else because we've got the bar. We can keep a lid on our costs and everything. So from a business point of view, it makes a lot of sense, and that helps keep our finger on the pulse when I'm booking Transmit Festival and going, right, who should we put on the River stage, or who should we put on the King Tut's stage? I look at who's doing really well in King Tut's. It's a great way of keeping your finger on the pulse, I guess.
You then became Chief Exec of DF Concerts after proving yourself an invaluable asset to the business, and after the founder emigrated to New Zealand. What was that transition like from being the manager of a very well-respected bar to being the chief exec of this big entertainment business?
I think whilst the position was an overnight change, I guess, I'd been working up to it for quite a while because, Stuart had started taking more of a backseat. And it's probably, part of his succession planning, really, to allow me to gradually take over before he left. And the team that I had around me were a team that, Stuart had built up as well. So that was good. And some of those people, are still with us now. Most of our senior management team have got, 15 years plus with the business. We've worked together a long time, and we've got each other's backs, and that helps. It doesn't mean that we're not receptive to new people coming in. We've always got new people coming into the business, and they bring different skills and different experience as well, so that's healthy. But I've always felt I've had the support and loyalty of a long-standing team.
So people management and attracting good staff and all this kind of stuff, you're so trend-based. So changes in the market, changes in taste, all this kind of stuff. So for people that are involved in business that need to have their finger on the pulse, how do you guys do that? How do you make sure you're ahead of the curve?
Well, I think it's making sure you employ young people as well, and particularly in marketing, because that changes so rapidly, and more so now than it ever used to. So I think having young people who understand that digital landscape and can move with it as well. And again, having people running gigs who haven't just ran gigs for 30 years where they go, well, we always used to do this in the old days, we can do it the same way. It's like, no, licensing's changed, health and safety, laws have changed, making sure people get the right training. But again, that evolves as well.
But in terms of selling to your customers, there's no business that I can think of off the top of my head where it's so direct. It's like if people don't like what you're selling, they just don't come.
Yeah.
Tea in the Park, which was 50,000 people, is that right?
Nearly 90.
90,000 people over 3 days?
3 days, but 4 really if you count the Thursday, because we used to have 40,000 people arrive on the Thursday. So.
Massive festival. The biggest festival in Scotland, one of the biggest in the UK.
Yep.
At the time, sponsored by tennis, massive big thing. And then that ended, and you then created Transmit. So how on earth did you come up with that new brand, and how did you decide how did you do that?
Once you have something to the scale of Tea in the Park, you can't downsize it. So trends change, and obviously we had a difficult site move, which didn't work well. But before we left Bilardo, the attendance had started to decline. But the final year sold out, but it's because we made such a great job of telling everybody it's the final year at Bilardo, and it was bye bye Bilardo as a hashtag, and we sold out. And we kind of thought, all right, we're now moving a full capacity event to a new site. What we should have realised was actually no. Not as many people want to go to a 3-day camping festival as used to. Tens of thousands still want to. So when I'm talking about declining, I'm talking about maybe from 85 to 60. Yeah. So 60,000 people is still one of the biggest festivals in the world. But when your figures are based on 85, and most importantly, artist fees are based on that, you can't go back and book a headliner for less than you paid for a headliner the year before. It just doesn't work. People's expectations are there, and those kind of small changes make a massive difference. And our deal with tenants ran out as well. So it's kind of like, right, well, there's a line in the sand here. What do we do? We'd lost quite a bit of money in the final Tea in the Park, and the site, what wasn't working for various reasons. And, I just thought, right, I need to do something different. If we do a camping event, it's immediately going to be compared to Tea in the Park. It's going to be, people are going to refer to it as Tea in the Park, even if it's called something else. And Tea in the Park, tenants were obviously an integral part of that, because, that's where the tea came from. But, so we had to come up with a new concept, and I thought I'd always liked the idea of doing something on Glasgow Green and doing something more city-based. Obviously thinking in terms of sustainability and everything. I used to really despair on a Monday afternoon seeing the number of tents that were left, and that got worse every year. Most people used to take them away with them in the early years of Tea in the Park. By the latter 2 or 3 years, and again because you've got more younger people coming. They're buying tents at $9.99 in the supermarket, putting them up with no intention of taking them away again. And that, you just think, well, what's that doing to the environment? Also, obviously, all the travel to a more remote location as well. So I thought, no, let's look at an urban location, Glasgow Green, perfect and biggest city in Scotland. And we talked it through with the council at the time and said, look, this is our vision, this is what we want to do. Yes, people will be nervous. We're bringing a camping festival to the city centre. We'll be very clear it's not a camping festival. And Radiohead, you know, mentioned before, they wanted to play that year, and they said, look, we love the idea of your new festival, what are you going to call it? And I said, well, I like the idea of Transmit, maybe dropping the vowels, and they're like, oh yeah, we love that, you know. And they're like, really? And they're like, yeah, you know, that's a good name. So we went out with that name, so a lot of it was intuition, gut instinct, experience. It wasn't like focus groups, agencies, laboratories, testing. No, I mean we did do focus groups at Tea in the Park, but with ticket holders, you know, not with, you know, pulling people off the street, and we'd get maybe 20 people in different areas of Scotland and go and ask them, you know, what do you like, what do you not like, what can we change? And, you know, and we always do artist surveys, you know, to which bands you want to see as well. Because one thing about booking a festival, you know, you can never try to please everybody because you never will, you know. And we'd see in the park, we probably had too many stages, and a lot of commentators who didn't go to the event, but you'd see people on socials going, oh, there's, you know, this band of rubbish, that band of rubbish, and they'd pick maybe 10 bands that they didn't like. Then other people would go, oh yeah, no, it doesn't look so good this year, but forget the other 110 that were playing. You know, nobody likes 120 bands on the festival lineup. If you've got 120 bands, you know, you're probably only going to like 30 of them, and that's 30 bands, that's 10 a day. That's quite a lot of bands to go and see. So you get over that perception. It's not about, you know, people patting you on the back and going, oh, what a brilliant lineup, because some of the best lineups we've had at smaller events, you know, have just not sold tickets, you know. So and sometimes people don't tend to shout when you've booked their favourite artist who just buy a ticket. They don't go onto social media to comment on channels. They just go, yep, I'm going, I've got my ticket, and all they might do is share with their friends. You know that if you're booking the right lineup, people are going to come, particularly when it's a city centre event. So
how do you know you're booking the right lineup?
Because of this place, King Tut's, partly. You know, I know, you know, if you see something like Little Sims in here, you go, wow, she's great, you know, she's really got something, you know, and then you put tickets on sale for Barrowland, you see that. So you know that those artists are in an ascendancy, and you look at the audience as well.
So this is your focus group, really?
Yeah, I guess it is.
This is your laboratory.
Yeah, I was down at, yeah, exactly. It's definitely more like a lab series. Our concert promoting is a lab series for doing festivals. So yeah, you're out there, I'm out at gigs, you know, 4 or 5 times a week.
So you know your audience.
Yeah.
Focusing on another big moment for the business, Live Nation come along. So could you explain who Live Nation are, where the business was at the time that they arrived on the scene, why they got involved, and also what they brought to the table?
Well, you know, Live Nation are the biggest entertainment company in the world. You know, they're based in LA. They've got offices in most countries in the world. So they're hugely successful, hugely aspirational, led by Michael Rapino, who's a really top CEO, very visionary and very people-based. You know, big strong team around him, and they bought into DF because, you know, they like what they saw. It's a, you know, profitable business.
And so how did that happen? Did you just get a phone call one day out of the blue?
We you know, had a good relationship with them, and Dennis Desmond, who was our main shareholder, had a very good relationship with them. They'd gone through a period of buying into, you know, quite a few businesses, and in Scotland DF have most of the market. You know, we have the biggest market share. You know, Live Nation we're doing concerts in Scotland, but obviously not as many as DF were. So, you know, and there comes a point where they obviously thought, well, we can continue to compete, but actually it's better for us to buy in, because then they're buying the expertise, not just the assets of the company. They're buying the people and what that delivers. It's kind of partnership working. We didn't move on to Live Nation straight away, but, you know, they're making that global investment into financial accounting packages, you know, IT packages, insurance brokers, all of those kind of things that they're doing on either a European or global level. So you get the benefit of that, instead of going, right, well, we need an app, let's go out and, you know, talk to people, we need a website, you know. So you've immediately got that backup. You've got the IT specialists. So and that becomes like a gradual thing that you move over. You know, we didn't suddenly stop working with our lawyers, and in fact we still, you know, have our lawyers from the 1990s, you know, working on some things for us, because they're based in Scotland, do Scots law. Live Nation's lawyers are English based, so, you know, but it means you've got that, you've got the in-house, council that you've never had before, you know. But the main thing that it brings is greater access to artists, which would have been harder if we weren't part of the Live Nation team. When I first started, it'd maybe be 20 or 30 UK agencies that you deal with, and you'd hardly ever deal with anybody in America. Now, a lot of the tours that you deal with, you're dealing with somebody who's based in America whose remit is Europe, but they're based in America. Other times somebody might sign an agency deal in America, but then the London office, handles it. So in the same way, the live music, there's a couple of, 3 or 4 now, fairly big global, companies. And sometimes they might do a deal to buy the whole tour because the artist wants that guarantee, they want that security as well, and they might want an advance because record labels don't fulfil the role that they used to. They used to provide big advances to artists. Now that tends to come from promoters quite often. So by being part of Live Nation, it means we don't miss out on some of the tours that we might have had historically, but more recently, when you've got a global operator going, right, well, we'll do the deal with the artist for the whole tour because that's what they want. If you're not part of the team, you're not getting to do that show. So there's wins that way, I guess. But it's a constantly evolving industry. And the good thing about Live Nation is they constantly evolve as well. They're not like a big kind of cruise liner that can't move, swiftly, and I think because they allow a lot of autonomy to business heads in different parts of the world, that enables them to move swiftly. You're not waiting for a decision in LA before you can move. You can do things in your own market as you need to. So.
And one of the questions we're finishing with that we're asking everybody is, if you were to meet your younger self at the bar of King Tut's here and give them some advice, what would that advice be?
Well, I think the obvious thing, obviously, is work hard and kind of have a goal, focus on the goal. All those things are obvious and sound like cliches, but they're always true. The harder you work, the luckier you get. You have to put the hours in. But the best advice I had was when I was at Stockport College. The words, I didn't take the advice at the time, but I look back on them and they were really sound. He said, you should build on your strengths rather than just trying to cope with your weaknesses. Because if you've got strengths, build on those. And you look at that other ways. If you've got a weakness, obviously you want to improve that because it'll help you be better. But the real focus was don't focus on what you're not good at and make yourself better, because you're never going to be great at those things. Focus on your strengths and make those your USP. I've never really kind of thought, what are my core strengths? Tenacity is obviously one, because and not giving up in the face of adversity.
Geoff Ellis, Chief Exec of DF Concerts, sitting in front of the world famous King Tut's Wawa Hut sign. Thank you very much indeed for sharing the journey of your idea.
My pleasure.
Cheers.